surprised.
All right, we're recording.
Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order of the Bath Planning Commission. It's Tuesday, July 14th. It's 6 o'clock. Can I get a motion for the agenda?
So moved.
Support.
Thank you. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, we'll move on. Disclosure of a conflict. Anyone got a conflict with any of the agenda items? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. General public, there's no public. We'll move on from that. Minutes.
Move to
everyone
approve
have a
the
chance to
minutes.
look at 'em?
Yeah. Move to approve the minutes as presented.
I have just a note if I could.
Yeah, absolutely.
My comment at the end was, acknowledge communication that is an issue that the planning commission is working on. That communication is just in general of the township. It's hard to communicate, period. It's not that not that the planning commission has an issue. It's just an issue in general that we have problems communicating with public as, at the township level, period. Because like we used to have the review, et cetera, and now we don't. So that's what I was trying to get at. A lot of people complain about not being able to communicate our communication, but if they have a suggestion, we would definitely like to hear it.
We will strike planning commission and put general township communication.
Yep. Township in general, yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
I second that with that change.
With the change?
If,
Okay.
if
I
you-
didn't change my motion. I move to approve the amended agenda per Vice Chair Baker's comments.
I second.
Okay, those in favor say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, hearing none. Miles, you got anything for us?
No communications this week?
Okay, let's move on to the comprehensive plan then.
Okay. I'll take it from here. So if that's okay, Chair?
Yeah,
Okay.
So it looks like our consultant won't be able to be here tonight, so I'm gonna kinda do my best. She included a memo here going over a couple items, and then we had a brief conversation on the phone of some stuff she wanted you guys to look at. So I'll go through that in a second, but the main, I think, takeaway, and just to kind of like get a sense of the timeline here and what we're seeking is the plan got significantly built out over the last month, like this is the plan now. And George, I apologize, the copy that you came and picked up last Friday didn't include the appendix, but the appendix is another 180 pages. The plan itself is about 80 pages. There's a lot in there, I mean, there's definitely a lot to go over. We did a new round of getting photos, including those, trying to clean up some of the edits, making some of the edits based upon the open house that we came in, some of that we'll talk about here in a sec. But the plan is starting, I don't know if anybody's noticed, but it's starting to take kind of that formal plan format where images are included, editing's been done, spelling mistakes have been cured. It's hard to make everyone happy, especially when your plan is getting up to like 240 pages. I'm sure there's more and or less we could talk about. But we felt like the plan we're hoping is in a format where it's good enough to start engaging in some distribution. So the timeline would be, have this conversation with you guys tonight, or the proposed timeline rather, is have the conversation with you guys tonight, get additional feedback of where the plan is at, quickly make some edits over the next week or two, and then present it to the board as a final draft, ready for distribution. Then we go into if the board is okay with that, obviously we would go into a 65-day noticing period where we're required by state law to send the plan out to all neighboring municipalities, which kind of unfortunately for Bath is like many, because we're in the corner of a county, so there's a lot of government bodies that we have to send this out to. And then they have 65 days to respond once that letters and or emails are sent out. During that response period, we're still taking in input, we're still doing edits, there's still a lot of time for that. But at the conclusion of that period, I think it comes back for the commission for recommendation for adoption, and then to the board for formal adoption. And that hopefully will put us at like a December timeline, which is what we're aiming for, because that's a month before our deadline of January. So, tight timeline as always. With that being said, they kinda talked in their memo about, the sense of community, so just, I'm not gonna read the whole thing, but their main general comments were related to sense of community was talked about quite a bit throughout this process, the environment was talked about, quite a bit. Priority growth areas, we even renamed one of those are kinda like the main three nodes of like commercial activity in the township, if you guys recall. Infrastructure, housing is obviously a big part of the conversation, and due to our grant, kinda has to be talked about. Not that we wouldn't be talking about it anyways, I would say, it's kinda top of mind for everybody. And then the future land use, obviously, we've made some pretty heavy changes to the proposed future land use plan that's included in this, and then some changes to what the zoning could look like come January of next year, which those are big conversations, I feel like, for Bath, and something that hasn't been addressed in a while. This next steps kind of breaks down what I just talked about there. They're saying they've got like October in here, I think that's maybe a little ambitious, but like, we'll see. And then they had this link, which I hope everyone was able to use this, but again, we don't need all of our feedback tonight. These file sizes are getting quite large, so they should set up a share kind of doc where you can, they could do some file sharing, but these are all the various files, and literally at 5:29 PM today, is this latest file that I just quickly went through, with some updated stuff, so. A couple of things, one, we already mentioned this in the past, I think in passing, but me and Taylor started to work on it today, now that the, plan is getting its more final form. I don't like this cover page, we're working on it.
If you could get the cows to line up,
Yeah, I mean, I took that photo of the cows, I like the cows, I wasn't intending for that to be the cover page photo. I was hoping that would be like,
I like it.
I like it.
and again, if we like the cows, that's great, we're just gonna try to like art this up a little bit and, just not make it so boxy and square, so, I don't know. We'll see what we can come up with, if you guys like it though, that's fine with me too, I'm like, okay,
I
fine.
like your images.
Not that it's all about pictures, but you guys can see, you've seen some of this, the plan's getting pretty built out, we made the edit, like, for example, there was a child here, we blurred a face.
Yeah.
Let me get down to, oh yeah, this was a cool tool, just so you guys are aware as you're navigating this over the next couple of days or week, looking for edits. If you click on the home button, it'll take you to the appendix on any page.
Oh,
So that's nice. They wanted to talk about the implementation tools and techniques, well, I guess the implementation section overall, so I'm just gonna skip down to page 61 real quick, cause there's a lot of new content in there. I guess before I talk about that, is there any thoughts on the timeline? Is there any anxiety or concern? Is there any thoughts on the just general plan and layout, section layout chapters, before we talk about specifics?
I've got commentary.
Yeah,
I don't know how you want to, do you wanna do that page by page? Do you wanna do that not page by page? You just wanna focus on the things that they wanna focus on?
no, I don't wanna just focus on the things they wanna focus on, you wanna go page by page, I feel like,
I mean, it's not every
That'd be a lot.
page, I mean, there's some basic comments.
Okay.
And then,
should we start from the beginning and take it maybe section by section?
well, what are people's opinions about this?
yeah, I'd do section by
It's only 80
section.
pages.
I think that's more organized than,
So. They're quick.
Well, I'm fine with that.
And I can go through this pretty quickly. So
Okay.
the first comment on the second page, or page 4, Board of Trustees, we have had a member of our Board of Trustees pass, we have a new one. I don't know what's protocol, do we keep him on and add him? Or
We'll probably do the same thing, that's a good point out, we should start a doc where we're taking notes. Alright, we'll probably do the same thing we did for former staff, where we just say former, you know, and then have the current.
maybe in honor of, I think was probably the longest serving trustee of all
You
time.
like in honor of instead of former?
I'm not the person to make
no,
that
no,
decision, but
I
it's
think
it's
that's-
an option.
I think that's good, I mean, what does the planning commission, the rest of you guys feel?
He's served since 1976.
Well, he actually was up until this point, right? So
Right.
wouldn't it still be in there?
No, I think we should still keep them in there, but now, to, Commissioner Almarigi's point, you know, you have to, we do have to include Adam Montry as well now, and it's like, anyone's just doing a simple count, they're like, wait, I thought the board was 7 members. So you have to address it somehow.
Right, correct.
And honor of feels good to me. That feels, it's a sensitive thing, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's just a
Okay.
footnote or something like that. Not that, I mean, deserves more than a footnote.
Yeah.
Right.
In documents.
Okay.
I think the last time we looked at this is a general comment and without an offer to fix.
Okay.
When we last looked at this, I think we opened up to public, for the one public member, who made comment about the action items, being actionable. And my big concern is that there's 10 billion action items, and nearly all of them, you know, I think where it's gonna come down to a problem is at the very end, there's a scoring thing with metrics.
Okay.
It's gonna be very, very difficult to develop a set of metrics for kind of obtuse generalized statements about the township board will meet with the planning commission to, you know, come into alignment. Like, I don't know what that means, and how do you measure that? So and then when you have, I mean, just looking at sense of community, there's, I mean, I don't know, like 25 different actions.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's a lot of action items, I also think it's a 20-year plan, so they're like, you know, you got 20
Okay.
years.
all right, well, again, I didn't have a fix for that, it's just general comment that, I mean, if it were me, I'd love to see, you know, fewer action items that were more concrete in nature,
Yeah,
so.
okay. I guess when you're marking up your plan, or, you know, even in an email, if there are specific ones that you feel, cause I mean, no one wants a plan that's just gonna sit on a shelf, dude. I get that, and like the planning, I think industry is very sensitive to that, so if you're seeing some of these in particular, where like this is some pie in the sky stuff, didn't say that, you're like, this is pie in the sky, we need to take this off.
Well, and maybe you said that they wanted to have us discuss the implementation, and maybe that's where we discuss.
Yeah, maybe we can
that.
get down into there.
The goal of the environment, all the text is about extreme weather, and an ironic statement as well, it's 100 degrees out there right now, I'm gonna say it, I don't understand how extreme weather has anything to do with Bath residents' conceptions of the prioritization of the environment.
Right, or anything we have any control over.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously the preservation of wetlands can, you know, mitigate extreme weather, but we're not gonna, you know, this level of 30 square miles, we're not gonna have much of an impact on
No.
that. So I worry that what the residents are communicating in terms of the prioritization, we do address elsewhere in terms of preservation of rural agricultural lands, outdoor recreation lands. That's my sense of what the community is prioritizing,
Right.
not, you know,
But in terms of extreme weather, tree trimming, power lines, utilities, that infrastructure is affected by extreme weather, and then how we get that back online affects the township. So I think there's a connection there, maybe not as explicit as we're here to solve climate change, but I do think we're certainly impacted by it. And I think maybe the intention is more on the effect end than the cause end. Does that make sense?
So like an informational thing?
Yeah, like extreme weather is happening. And I agree that here in Bath Township, we probably can't do much to change that, but we can try to put some planning in place to help mitigate its effects.
I think, I think that's all correct, and I think to caveat that, and just, this is where we kinda come up with, unfortunately or fortunately, the reality is, a lot of the ways that local municipalities are funding kind of these, like, you could call it a special interest, even though I think it's like basic needs of the community, is through these, it's through these grants, and a lot of it in this area, you hear this term in the grant seeking process a lot about like a resiliency grant. And I think that's where this comes from, cause then you can point back and you say, look at these issues we identified in our comprehensive plan, and like, we're already thinking about ways to build resiliency, and we can implement, so I think
Look
some
at
of that.
how the washouts affected the roads up north, just last month.
And I know right now, like Board of Water and Light is seeking a resiliency grant for their water system piping under I-69. And so for having stuff about the water supply and droughts in Bath probably is advantageous for them.
So when, for the one objective and 5 action items under environment, do any of those relate to extreme weather or
What page
infrastructure
what page is that?
disturbances? Got it,
23?
page 23.
Say it one more time, sorry.
So it's an issue of alignment, right?
Yeah.
So we've got public input, which says one thing. We have the objective and action items, which say something slightly different. It's a little bit more aligned to the public input. And then all the information preceding that has nothing to do with either public input or objectives,
I think-
objective and action items.
I think they're trying to do two things. I think they're trying to honor the public, so that's what you're seeing here. And I think they're also trying to set us up to get a grant in the future for a resiliency grant, which I'm like, okay.
You know, they do mention stormwater management, which is a big part of that, and, you know, recycling of that water, rerouting, recycling, all that, it plays a big part in that. But that's number 5, so maybe that one should be a little higher.
Yeah.
And green space is another big one.
I mean, again, I don't, I think there should just be stronger alignment, and if, you know, if it's going to Kate's comment about, you know, reliability and resiliency, let's make that much more explicit than, you know, moving number 5 to number 3 or.
Sounds like you want more specific items.
So that in
Well-
10 or 15 years, when a whole other group of people is reading this, they'll know why we put it in there more clearly? Is that what you're getting at?
I mean, all 4 people, historians who might be reading the document.
Hopefully a grant reviewers reading it. I mean, that's always my goal, is to get a tool we can use.
They mention wetlands kind of continuously throughout there, which is it's a key part of it, but they don't really say much about it other than protecting them. How are you gonna protect them?
Yeah. Well, we'll get down into implementation, I guess, and see what we got. Alright, so, okay, noted. I think the word resiliency probably needs to be said more, to your point. Should we keep moving through the goals?
Yeah, priority growth area, and 2 comments there. Page 31, there's a specific comment about importance of building out the area's sidewalk network. and linking that to new developments, but there isn't an action item related to that.
The drain commission called that out in their comment as well.
Okay.
And they got even a little bit more specific than that too, so.
I mean, I
Noted.
think that's a low hanging fruit for us to, if we haven't already done it, I know we've required sidewalk build outs for some developments, but that could be an easy ordinance change that, and have long-term impacts 20 years from now.
Yeah, and the drain commission's comment basically said that, and then they additionally said, which again, they haven't read for us to review down here in a little bit, but additionally said they don't feel like that should be uniform across the township, though, it should be targeted in those areas. Cause they're like, we don't wanna incentivize the building, which that makes sense too, the building of sidewalks for, somebody does an SUP for a wedding venue in rural.
Yeah.
You know, under like one of the action items to create land uses like agritourism. You don't want them to build a sidewalk on the front of their farm, you know, like that'd be random and weird. So, alright. So noted on the sidewalk comment.
Page 38, there's a section called mixed-use developments that refers to the shift to remote work due to COVID-19.
Yeah.
I think that shift is undoing itself.
Yeah, you don't know how relevant that shift is, or if anything, like, this shift is reverting now.
Yeah, and, I mean, you could just simply take that out, but it ages the document.
Agreed. Page 38.
5 years
removal of
post-pandemic.
COVID working patterns. Transportation's pretty, I feel like that's like standard planning. Like. Got some power lines, that's actually one of our nicer power lines too. You know, my pet peeve, the power lines.
I did appreciate, the whole idea of road diet, which apparently East Lansing makes liberal use of,
Yeah.
creating nightmares for at least me.
No, while it might seem counterproductive.
It's absolutely counterproductive, because you pass slow people on the right.
I highlighted it.
That's
Okay.
mostly it, you know,
Oh, continue.
no, I mean,
Mine's the next one.
there's a recurrent issue of the Bath Village area coming up across multiple different sections.
Yeah.
And it's something that has been a part of every comprehensive plan since time immemorial. And has never been acted upon.
It's definitely low hanging fruit for planners, cause you see it even at a high level on a map and you're like, that's an area where stuff should happen.
But why is this just such a high hanging fruit for the board to do anything with?
I just think that it's interesting from like, just like my outside perspective too, like coming in, now not so much, but like when I first got here, thinking about like, man, what happened here? And it is interesting, like there's obviously like systemic disinvestment that happened there for a long time. I feel like that's not totally the case now, I mean, obviously, in recent times, there was a large amount of roads that were fixed up down there, there's the non-motorized networks. Like they did a large amount of asphalt paving in, I wanna say 2024, 2025. Down there, they did the Safe Routes to School grant, was like a focus area, so that was like huge improvements. There's been
I
some.
mean, they did not do that, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, they did, the road commission did the road committee suggested which roads would help be, fixed to the road commission, and the board had to fund some of that.
Right.
And then the Safe Routes to School did a number of the new sidewalks, but then the DDA money that was left over patched other section of sidewalks that wasn't covered, so that was like another $170,000 spent down there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's been some investment, and then obviously, and even in my department, working with, I guess our main developer would be Mr. Estruth, which is First Choice Housing LLC. He did the fourplex, he bought the property that's across from Spags. We've talked with him and a couple of different various people that were interested in the property of what could go there. Nothing's come to market yet. He bought the building that is now Crystal's Kitchen. She has a land lease with him. So there is a developer that's active in the area, which is good to see. I don't know if that's been the case in a long time.
I withdraw the critique.
No, it's valid, like, it's odd, like, I don't know why, like, at one point in time, the post office, the fire station, and the board meeting hall were all on Main Street. And so there was like this municipal center down there, and all that went away.
And there was a hardware store and a meat market.
And a grocery store.
And a
Well,
grocery
it's a railroad
store.
stop.
And then, I think the railroad stopped, but then a lot of that disinvestment happened after that date.
That's correct.
So it's almost like you should double, like, you should like, okay, well, the railroad pulled out, so that's
The
economic.
railroad left, the highway came.
Yeah,
Yeah,
That's it.
I think that's what happened.
yeah, basically, you're right, Kate, yeah.
But that happened in a lot of communities across the Midwest,
Oh,
where
yeah.
the railroad left, or yeah, I mean, there's a, new urbanism is the term for it, and the federal government gave communities a lot of money to demo their downtowns and build strip malls. But some communities did resist that, and those communities have been proven right over time,
Yeah,
I think.
And if you compare to Langsberg, I think Langsberg is just far enough away from the amenities in Ingham County that it sustained their downtown area.
That's true.
Same thing with DeWitt. Bath is close enough that the majority of people went to Hazlet, went to Okemos, went to Grenier Township, East Lansing, for those amenities, thinking of like restaurants
I think so,
primarily,
I think you're right.
groceries.
There's a pull factor.
Though we did have a grocery store at Bath for a long time.
yeah.
There was absolutely a pull factor. I also, and again, you would know this better than me, I've only been here for 5 years. But just like in my short time here though, I think in like reading some of the past minutes, especially like when Myers was first presented, those minutes are, you should check them out, they're actually pretty interesting.
Yeah.
I think there was also a sense of like, and I saw the same thing when I worked in Flint, which is kinda crazy, the through lines between Midwestern communities. But like, when that disinvestment was happening and that pulling was going to Hazlet, it was like good riddance. Like, see ya, don't need ya.
Right, yeah.
It wasn't like, how can we shore this up and keep this investment in our area? You know?
Yeah.
So I think now that kinda is I think the sentiment is reversed, like among staff here, among the 10% of highly involved people, such as yourself, you know, in the community, they're like, no, how can we get investment in these? So I think we're just starting, and it's hard, cause planning's a long game, like, you're not gonna undo 40 years of disinvestment in 5.
I think society changed a little bit too, you know,
Oh, yeah.
more cars, less less walking. Back then, you know, you
100%.
lived on the local streets and you walked up to the gas stations, to Gene Wilkins gas station.
Yep.
And now you have a car, driving town.
No, and that goes to the pull factor. Alright, Mark, you had some comments?
As I was looking at the maps, I had confusion
Which
of
maps?
where the boundaries
Okay.
for services were. Just because I couldn't follow, it was a dash line,
Yeah,
and it disappears.
this one?
But that's one of the cleaner ones.
Okay.
In the others, it was a red dash line. And it disappears with the other lines, which are red also, but they're solid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What page is that, Jason?
It's 56.
56.
just, it's a comment that if I'm looking, and I'm not willing to continue to search to that other page. I don't know where, that dash line goes up, around the yellow past Slate. But
I think it's getting cut off where
Yeah.
there's a border.
Oh, yeah, I see it now.
So it was just confusion on my part as I was trying to figure out where the real service area is, because we don't have service in downtown Bath.
Well, you have sewer,
We have sewer, but no
Yeah.
water.
no water, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And the service area boundary includes a multitude of things, but really what the service area boundary, and maybe this is just something that we need to do a better job explaining. That's the places where have been identified where like, it's called like sustainable infill development can take place.
Yeah,
It doesn't necessarily mean like all services across the board are available. It means like if targeted investment of like infill development is to occur, look here first, don't look outside of here first.
If I were somebody just looking at that, I would assume everything is there,
No.
because that's what you say.
that's primarily sewer.
Yeah,
Yeah, and for some reason, BWL doesn't really want us to publish where the water mains are.
it also includes, though, it primarily includes three-phase power, it includes gas, it includes, but you know, all this information would be useful to have on separate maps and layer it. Even with like the BWL though, like we asked throughout this process repeatedly.
And they don't want it.
They don't wanna provide it,
That's weird.
yeah. The sewer stuff we can, it's our system, so the maps are readily available to us. But, yeah.
Well, that's because Bath owns the sewer system.
Yeah, but consumers was similar, we were like, can we get a copy of the, natural gas lines? And they were like, just crickets. And I don't even know if it's I think they're just a giant bureaucracy,
Whereas,
and we're small potatoes are, yeah.
Do we make note of that we did reach out, couldn't get it in our document?
I don't know if it adds any value, it's more just like me complaining.
Yeah, it's probably kind of redundant.
Well,
I just wanna say we tried.
Well, I mean, here's where it does make a difference,
Yeah.
right? If those who are gonna act upon the comprehensive plan, namely the township board, they're looking for areas to prioritize for investment, future infrastructure, knowing where, the gas lines are, knowing where sewer is, knowing, you know, and having that connected to roads. You know, for example, if we talk about Drumheller Road, what infrastructure is needed there to incentivize or make it possible for industrial development, if that's what we want there, you know?
Yeah.
And so, without that readily available now, during the comprehensive plan development process, it certainly ain't gonna be readily available elsewhere. So, again, how we want, you know, what's the purpose of the document?
No, I agree, I guess I don't have a great solution, because, again, the water maps are not necessarily ours to share. Even the one PDF we have, so I have a PDF in my office where this isn't like geolocated to like the 3 or 5 foot range, but it generally shows where water is present in the township and where hydrants are present. But it's in a PDF, and I had to sign an agreement, with the Board of Water and like that, it's not for public distribution to get it from them, and they will not send us a, shapefile, so it's like, you know. Now, usually when we call a developer and they're like, hey, is gas available, what we do, and, you know, I don't know if this is the best, but we would literally just get on Fetch GIS and we look at the satellite imagery and we see if, there are, tanks in somebody's front yard, and if we see a bunch of tanks on the street, then we know natural gas isn't there. And the imagery's from 2025, so it's pretty recent.
So reach out to Eiler Fuel Oil.
Well, the fire department must know where all the hydrants are.
They do, and that's another good way, to find out where things are in terms of infrastructure. This is all in their app that the police and fire use for 911 service. They have an app that will tell them. So there are ways, but I agree it would be better to have it, but we don't own the rights to the data, and so that makes it complicated. That's where cities kinda have an advantage on townships sometimes, because in a city, usually it's city water, city sewer,
Yeah.
city services. Okay, but noted, Mark, you found it hard to see the service boundary. And maybe we need to, if it's, I'll look to see if we, can you make a note to?
Well, there really isn't
review
anything in
service
that
boundaries
plan.
well defined.
Miles, that really designates that that's potential for water and gas and et cetera.
That's why we just made a note to see if service boundary is well defined and what the whole rationale behind the service boundary is. If it's not well defined, we'll type up a paragraph about it and get it in there.
That's a good idea.
Okay, do we wanna go to that implementation section, cause that's kinda where we're at anyways?
I think so.
Okay, so there's some introduction stuff that everyone can read there. There's some tools and techniques, and they just have a quick bullet point list. I think this is largely stuff we've talked about in the meetings before that they kinda just summarized. But then you get down into the actual days, so they break down the goals, as it was alluded to earlier, and then there's a bunch of action items, sometimes many action items. And again, like I said earlier, do I know how realistic all this getting done is? No, it is a 20-year plan, so I think it's like set the bar high and be somewhat broad, so if something applicable comes by, you have this plan for reference. If something's straight up pie in the sky, I think that needs to be said. What they did for you guys is they included the number of stickers that people placed at the open house. Now, obviously, the board's at the open house, you guys are at the open house, so kinda some outside voices there. I was happy to see we did have just like some random people, which was cool. The library's probably got an outside voice at the open house, maybe too, a lot of library staff. But, you know, if you come to the meeting, then that's what happens. But you can kinda see, you know, like this item, 7 people, put a sticker on, so this was about the expansion of Parks and Recreation Service and aligning with the, greater alignment with the 5-year plan. Is the 5-year Parks and Rec plan, is that pie in the sky? I don't know. Is that good, though, that people are pushing for the board to align with the rec plan? I would say so. So, I don't know, you know, that's just one of those things where. But I guess any high level, again, we got this at the end of the day on Thursday, just like you guys had, so we've had 2 working days essentially to look at this. We'll go through over the next 2-week period and mark up stuff that we find, and if we have any pie in the sky that we see, we'll mark it off too. Is there anything anybody saw over the weekend that they thought was interesting? I'll go through these.
So the plan is to not, in the final document, not have the number of stickers?
No, that won't be in the final document. There's more just so for you guys. So, with sense of community, I won't go through all the action items, but like objective, engage in zoning-based plan activities to promote, organized development, so.
Just,
Go ahead.
in place of the number of stickers, would it be helpful to have like community support, low, medium, high?
How do we gauge community support, low, medium,
We'd have to
high?
arbitrarily like have
Yeah, I
cutoffs, like
think
1 to
that's-
2 would be low, 3 to 4
That's a
medium.
pretty low sample rate to
Yeah.
make that determination.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think-
Well, I mean, you know, we offer the opportunity for people to have voice, right? So,
Right.
And
Yes,
those
true.
came,
and we should have that represented in the plan. So, number of stickers doesn't seem all that exciting,
No,
Yeah,
because I mean, it points to low participation rates, right?
yeah.
yes, very definitely. Yep.
I can run it by them and see like what they've done in the past. I don't know, it's hard cause it is a low sample size. We have this survey which is referenced, you know, which had still a low sample size, but better.
I mean, the other option is we can look at anything that receives 0 support, cutting those action items.
Yeah,
And then.
that kinda
if
helps with your
not,
goal.
Then what's our justification for keeping them in?
I like that. I don't know how the rest of the planning commission feels about that. Do you guys wanna go through the 0 score ones real quick?
Yeah,
Well, just looking at action 3.7, you got a 0, and that's engagement of periodic community.
Yeah.
Engagement, and yeah, I don't
Well,
think I'd wanna
3.2 is
cut
the
that.
same.
Well, that's, you don't have to cut it, that's what we can go, we can go through real quick, you don't have to cut anything, you could say, no, let's keep that. Do you wanna do that? That might be a nice exercise to do real
Probably
quick.
would be, Miles, yeah.
Okay, alright, so within goal one, sense of community, objective two, strengthen Bath Township's position as an ideal community to live, work, and play. One that got 0 was identify ways to make it easier for seniors to age in place. That didn't get a lot of support. Oh, and I skipped, sorry, well, let's talk about that one first, I had skipped one, my bad. What do we think about, keep it, get rid of it?
I think we should keep that.
Let's abandon the old people. Stays based on principle.
I was surprised to not see anyone from the senior center, cause they were on our email list, like a lot of them. So that's kinda surprising.
Fired them all.
Yeah, but you know, they usually, I guess Judy was there, I was a weird, maybe she didn't see it.
Maybe, I don't.
She's part
I
of Park
can't
Lake. Friends of Park Lake.
She was representing the lake more, that's cool. Only so many interest groups you can have. Okay,
The one above it, I think we could get rid of.
okay, the one above it, institute a placemaking
2.2.
initiative sponsored by Bath Township staff.
You got lots of time for that.
I mean, yeah, that's kinda like, is that pie in the sky?
Yeah, I think so, yep.
What do
Are
you
we
think?
doing that right now?
I'm doing
I
it
mean,
right now.
that'd be like a perfect action item to say, done.
Accomplished.
That-
Check mark.
Maybe that's why they put it in, because I'm doing it, but, it's hard, cause a lot of this probably hinges upon where the planning department goes, which hinges upon funding sources, which is an open question right now.
It probably should be
Yeah.
left in. I mean,
Okay, what we think, so leave in, keep out,
I think leave in,
okay,
especially since that's
I'm gonna keep
grant
it-
money that's supporting that initiative.
I mean, we're doing it, so, okay, I'm gonna keep it rolling here, that's sorry about these things,
Page
okay, so we're still
65.
going, okay. Continue to refresh and optimize online communication channels that highlight municipal events and services.
Is that ours or the office?
Yeah, is that comprehensive planning?
I don't really think so, when you pose it that way. Do I think it's important? Yes, but do I think that that's really comprehensive planning?
It's building a sense of
No.
community, right?
It should
So-
probably be more in the strategic plan, which it is, but
Yeah, to Jason's point, sense of community.
Well, if you're looking for language that supports the concept of applying for a grant, that being in the plan is one of the things that maybe AI is gonna look for, I don't know.
maybe that's what I put it in.
But
Or set
that's
the words, just like in your resume.
That's the, yeah, it's the new, you gotta know what triggers AI to say, oh yeah, that's something that we're looking for.
What's this AI you're talking about?
Artificial intelligence, that's how people are scanning resumes and grant applications and everything else, from what I've been told.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so I'm hearing more keep than get rid of.
Well, it depends on what our target is.
I think you can make a
Miles.
case that does belong more in the strategic plan.
Oh, I think so too. But I think it's in the
But
strategic
we
plan,
it is
isn't
in
it,
the
Kate?
strategic plan, yes. I may have it here.
But if this stuff's in here for,
Is planning staff or the planning commission gonna be engaged in this activity? Cause we're,
Well, but, I mean, this is not, the audience is not the planning commission, right? This doesn't guide our actions, it guides the community,
well,
the
it,
board's
it's,
actions.
this is a, I mean, that's true to some extent, but this document primarily, like, my understanding of a comprehensive plan is it guides staff. I mean, this is like our roadmap for the next 5 years, and then ultimately we review it, and then it becomes a roadmap hopefully for the next 20 years. And we are trying to set you guys up with a document, cause I don't know when we'll get an opportunity like, free $50,000 to give it this a wide look again. And we're trying to set you up for 20 years. The goal is hopefully in 5 years, this is just a refresh.
Yeah. Good point.
So Miles, the other way to look at this, is if people aren't prioritizing them,
Yeah.
certain things, maybe they think it's not an issue because it's already happened.
It's being handled.
Yeah. So,
Well, that's true.
again, back to sample size.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's very possible, yeah.
okay. We already talked about this one, I don't think you can get rid of this one, like, we should always be engaging the public, that should always be a priority.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay, under objective 4, enhance rural prosperity, food security, and promote agricultural land use and, craft production. We have support the availability of an education or information campaign for new and existing non-farm residents to increase awareness of normal farm activities and right to farm issues.
We'll ever do it.
Yeah, are we gonna do that? That one might be pie in the sky.
Is that also planning though?
Especially long-term.
it's certainly long-term if you're gonna leave it in there, there's no doubt about that, 'cause
Support the
don't-
availability of education information campaign for new and
It's
existing.
like mitigating nuisance complaints is what it is.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to tell the people that are moving in that ag is important to us.
Pig stink. That's a
Yeah, but it says that in other areas of the plan as well, that ag is important to us.
I mean, the plan itself is kind of doing this action item.
But is it,
In a small degree.
is it incumbent on the planning commission to educate the community about the benefits of agriculture?
Or planning staff.
I don't
Well,
know.
again, I think we need to be clear as to who this is written for. And I don't think it's the planning department per se. You know, we're enabled to support the development of this through the Michigan Planning and Enabling Act, but it's to drive the capital improvement plan, which we'll talk about next, is to drive budget making for the township writ large. And so, I mean, whether that's all township staff.
Do you feel, yeah, no, that's correct. Do you feel like this is something that a large amount of money and resources is gonna be put into in the next 20 years?
No.
No,
I don't feel like that either.
it's,
But it depends, I mean, if we get a large, chicken farming operation next to Hawk Hollow,
Yeah.
things will change quite dramatically, right?
Yeah, that's what's hard with the planning, I mean, this document is in some sense trying to predict the future, and that's why I think these documents get like real broad.
Yeah, they do. And you don't know what the future's gonna bring, really.
No, it's impossible, it's unknowable.
But I think, I mean, my perspective on this particular thing is it's misplaced, right? The issue is, how do we move development to non-agricultural areas to preserve the agricultural areas, which is what the people, community members find as a strength of our community and actively voice support for maintaining.
Yeah, I think we have action items that do that, and I think we have a couple mechanisms in this plan that are trying to do that. Okay, so, I don't know, I'm just trying to get we keeping it, we getting rid of it?
I'd get rid of it, but that's personal opinion.
Let's cut it.
Cut it, okay. You got one to cut, I mean, if we cut one of these out of this whole thing, I don't think you're making like a big cut.
No,
Okay, the next one we got is under environment. This might be a good one to talk about. I'm gonna read their note here real quick, just so we can keep that. Open house feedback note, Park Lake was identified as an important, but utilized community asset. Interest in cleanup and conservation of the lake in partnership with Friends of Park Lake could be an option, okay, that's good to know. I like their note, I wish it included partnership with the county and state. Because if you look at how these lake projects and the cleanup for them get done, they're not done by a township of 14,000 people.
They're helped.
They're helped.
By the
These
county.
are very expensive projects, and sometimes even to some degree the state. Okay. I don't know what that looks like though, I mean, is that something where that's an action item?
Do you try and,
I don't know what we're supposed to do with this information of the note.
I don't know either.
So I like the note, I would like to add to the note with the county and state comment, but does this body feel like that should be an action item?
Well, it says prioritize, and I don't know what that really means either.
I mean, we do have an advisory board for the lake.
Are you discussing, 1-4, are you discussing?
No, I'm,
actual-
right now I'm just discussing their note,
The
I haven't
item.
got to
Okay.
1-4 yet.
Oh,
I
sorry.
think,
But the
I
note
think,
really
def-
should, go ahead.
I think definitely you need to include the mention of state and county
Okay. What were you gonna say?
personally.
The little notes, I don't think belong here.
They're not gonna be in the formal, but they're for you guys tonight.
Okay.
Anything in red that you see is for you guys tonight. And that's why I'm asking, this was their note to you guys tonight, and I'm thinking that note, without having an in-depth conversation with Rose, I'm thinking that note meant, like, is this a goal? Or an action item that we wanna create based upon the comments I got from the open house? And so she's putting that question to you guys.
So that would be like action 1-6 or something.
It could be. What's the thought there, yes, no?
But it's definitely an asset.
You know, there's definitely value in having clean lakes.
So is action 1-4 about Park Lake, or is, I mean, is that the only priority wetland that we have?
No.
No, that, I don't think action 1-4 has anything to do with Park Lake at all. This was a side extra note saying, hey, this was talked about at the meeting. They felt like, to your point earlier about environment, maybe when people thought about the environment section, they were not thinking what Giffel Webster was, and people saw that and the non-mention of Park Lake was odd to them.
Should this be put in a different area?
I think the cleaning up of Park Lake probably fits an environment.
so 1-6, talking about working with other agencies to develop a plan to work on Park Lake. That's a goal, and the action item is to do something of that nature.
You keep action 1.4 and then after priority wetlands, but especially Park Lake.
Okay, because it talks about Eagle.
Yeah.
And then add county.
Okay. Note on that then. I like that. Did everyone hear that as a quick fix? Okay, so 1-4 was the one that we were about to talk about, cause it just says continuing to prioritize protection and priority of wetlands within the township. I don't know how you really get rid of that one. I feel like you kinda, even though it got 0, we kinda have to keep that in. But, Commissioner Almaridge's point was, alright, well, why don't we say, prioritize wetlands and especially, we could put bodies of water assets such as Park Lake.
Sure.
Well put.
And then additionally say with Eagle, comma, county, comma,
State.
state. And consider enhancing, buffering standards.
So in the one above it, 1-3, it says continue to research and map, recharge areas and watersheds, are we doing that?
No, I mean, the state, obviously, you know, the state does, the drain commission does, not
Yeah,
in-house, we're
there's
not.
maps out there that show
No.
watersheds and such, but just wondering, you know.
So like better
do we have
language.
a handle on it, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
We do have a map though, right?
Should it be more like continue to utilize resources such as maps?
Yeah, we can put that. Action to 3.1, continue to utilize research and maps, the word utilize will go in there. Cause we do utilize those, I mean, we jump on the Eagle website and look at the wetlands map that they create monthly, I feel like.
But we're not making those maps.
No,
Nor should we be.
I don't, yeah, it'd be an expensive endeavor to get into. Okay. Moving
Side
on,
note,
go ahead.
making an action item something that we already do isn't that awe-inspiring.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, I think that's true.
We meet once a month for ordinance review and site plan.
I think that's true. It's just one of those things that, again, you put in and you're like, hopefully that materializes in some way that's useful down the road. Alright, let's see, I'm just trying to go in terms of time, so this is the priority growth areas. Objective 2, develop specialized plans as necessary for locations and topics within the township that warrant special attention. And then the one that got 0 was create a plan for Saginaw Highway / Old M78 area to guide future commercial and industrial growth. So like a small area plan, not a lot of interest in that.
I think
And
that's
we-
important though.
And we actually, by extending the development district, did that.
Yeah, well, you extend it on the future, so it hasn't been implemented yet, but it could when we do some of the zoning. And I don't think this one's pie in the sky, cause I could see in the next 20 years, some partnership with MSU, you know, the capstone class and doing some small area plan with them, like that's totally doable.
Yeah,
So I don't think that's pie in the sky either.
no, I don't think so either.
That'd be a perfect capstone project, and we have that resource in our backyard, we should use it.
Yep,
That would kinda be the same way with the next page, 69 at the bottom.
This one, yeah, where are we at?
69, next page.
Oh, real quick before,
If you go back to-
develop a corridor plan for Chandler Road, I mean, it's the same. And then
yeah, I think you could eliminate that.
you wanna
Golf
eliminate
Course
the,
Drive, why would you wanna eliminate, or not go further north?
you wanna eliminate the south of Club Course Drive out of
Yeah.
there? I think
Yes.
that's
Just for the whole Chandler
the whole
Road.
Chandler
Yeah.
corridor,
Yeah, at least up to Drumheller.
okay?
But I wouldn't put a restriction to it.
No, I wouldn't put a restriction to it either.
So not eliminate the whole item, just why are we restricting ourselves
Right.
in what we're planning?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Agreed,
There you go.
full agree there.
To the area that we mostly just made a new plan for.
One that goes to Jason's point last time too, of planning for all of, you were advocating, I think, for some plan around off ramps, is that true? Am I remembering incorrectly?
Yeah, if that were to come to fruition and then, you know, what would happen in Drumheller, should we,
Yeah, well, removing this language kinda unlocks that planning ability at least, okay. Alright, going to goal 4, economic development, objective 1, engaging in appropriate programs to strengthen economic development opportunities in the township. Consider regional partners, and then it would be 1.7, consider regional partnerships or coalitions with neighboring communities to coordinate development policy and utility management, particularly for those shared corridors within DeWitt Township and East Lansing. So not a ton of feedback there. I wish somebody from the regional would've came, we invited them.
I still think that's a strong one.
Yeah, I think it's a strong one and it's doable. I mean, it's like saying, like, talk to your neighbors.
Yeah,
Well, you know, and they
yeah,
act.
basically, yeah.
And we do that, I mean, we do that and we'll continue to do that. We do that more so with DeWitt, East Lansing, I feel like has been challenging, there's been a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
staff turnover there in the last like 5 to 7 years. I mean, my whole time here, it's like, it's a new person yearly.
Yep, in East Lansing, yeah, they got a lot of problems.
Okay. Objective 2, develop and promote township, identity to support economic growth and quality development, and then 2.3 got 0. Reinforce a recognizable identity, gateway signage, oh man, I cannot, I
Yes.
would've put a sticker on that one, man, that's my main thing. I was too busy talking.
Well,
I would
we can
not
keep it.
eliminate that one.
No,
I was ready
Get rid
to
of
put a
it.
sticker on it. We only have some of the
There's
stickers.
5 of us that would put a sticker on it.
yeah, we should have.
Alright, under objective 3, facilitate economic development that fulfills the needs and desires of the community, one that got, there, a lot of high scoring, I'll say, in this section overall, which is interesting. The people desire economic development, but, 3.2, evaluate the zoning ordinance for appropriate permitted locations for, startup spaces and streamline, procedures to promote the development of independent businesses owned by Bath Township
I
residents.
think that should stay in too.
Yeah, a lot of positives there.
Well, we've done 3.1 to the extent that we could, as much as possible, but
Yeah.
people didn't respond that with great volume, that's the problem. We don't really know, we know what 1% of the people want.
That's a good point, I'm glad you pointed out 3.1, I mean, goes back to what Jason, that was done to the extent possible for this point, like, do we need to say that?
We've, I don't know how you say it any more than we already done, Miles.
Yeah, we get the same answer.
Yeah,
We want restaurants, grocery store.
yeah, but do they
Doctor's
patronize them?
offices.
Okay, well, I'm hoping, we guys hit up Crystal's Kitchen,
I've been there.
So have I, yeah.
so. I say, I'm actually in favor of taking that one out, because it goes back to Jason's point of, like, we're patting ourselves on the back for stuff we're already doing,
Yeah,
and it's just building up, okay, everyone's cool with that, alright.
I sometimes put stuff on my to-do list, so I can just cross it off.
Yeah,
It's a nice feeling.
but we're for keeping 3.2, I think that's
Yeah.
important, you're trying to shore up your own local economy, incentivize residents, okay. And we're going to transportation, we got a 0 here, I'm just gonna read the action item itself, we know what transportation is. Work within the township, work with the township superintendent and the board of trustees to create a list of priority transportation projects with estimated costs and timelines. That's a big one.
Isn't that the capital improvement planning process?
Yeah.
My opinion, I'd take out with estimated costs and timelines, because that's not something we have the skill set to do as a planning commission.
It's also hard to do, like accurately, like an engineering firm is bad
But-
at doing that.
Working with the superintendent and the board of trustees to create a list of projects is something, because if we're talking planning, we need to know share what's being planned or thought
Maybe a
of.
bus route up Chandler Road,
George, what do you guys do on that road advisory committee?
nothing.
nothing.
Isn't this,
It was dissolved and for all practical purposes.
And has not had a meeting.
oh, you haven't had a meeting since?
Nope.
Did you put it in your application?
Nope,
Was that a no or a yes?
yes.
They haven't appointed anybody to anything.
That's interesting, I didn't know that.
I think that what we're talking about is interaction between the county, who's manages the Clinton Transit, and the Clinton Transit people. And I don't know that Bath Township even has a lot of input to that, do they? Do you know, Kate? Does the Board of Trustees ever interact with the Clinton
No,
Transit people to
No.
see what Bath wants? Or
no,
would-
not to my
They-
knowledge.
they
I
come
know
in.
that.
I mean, we're all
um,
paying taxes to it.
The superintendent does, but I don't know about the board, not that I'm aware of.
Well, the superintendent
What-
works for the board, right?
Right, yeah,
So has the board given her any
I got-
direction
I
of
got
what they
something on your
want?
point about
not
the capital
recently, no.
improvement plan, and we'll talk, I'm gonna talk about it more later in the meeting too, but, what about for this action item, cause I think this does, like, this is basically saying, like, have a more robust CIP process. So what if we just say, work with the township superintendent and the board of trustees to create more, I don't know if interaction is a word, more, I'm looking for a fancy word.
I wouldn't even
back
say
and
more,
forth.
I'd just say,
Yeah, collaboration would be a good one. Greater collaboration for capital improvement priorities. And then that helps make the case too for the building out of the CIP process, which I'll talk about later in the meeting.
So, I mean, you and George know this the most. I mean, isn't the majority of road funding funneled through the states, like through the
State to the
county
road
road commission?
commissions, yeah, and
So,
now even more so.
Now even more, we used
Yeah.
to get some money that we could use for roads, and then when they, in the budget process a year ago, made some changes and switched the gas tax to go to roads, they did not replace that money that was going to townships. And they replaced it a little bit with a marijuana tax, but that money goes to the counties.
so, I mean, my thought with this action item is, partnering more closely with the county road commission on available funding sources. Cause some of these are competitive grants to the federal government. Or,
So instead of mentioning the CIP as a call, you're saying call out the road commission more so than the CIP process?
well, I think it's to developing partnerships, perhaps with the road commission, perhaps with DeWitt's, East Lansing.
So what would that look like in terms of language?
Well, it's all about funding, right? So, I mean, you could have a list of priority transportation projects, but none of them will ever get off the ground unless there's a funding source. So, the funding source typically is filtered through the county road commission, right? So I'm just wondering if, and again, I'm just one vote here. I don't wanna.
Right.
so are you on 1.6, correct?
Still on 1.6, yeah, alright, at least I am.
Work with the township superintendent, board of trustees, county road commission, and
That's why I'm trying to put this in the language.
yeah, and,
To match, priority road projects to available funding sources?
Work with those three entities, superintendent, road commission, and board of trustees to
neighboring
match.
communities, or no?
We could put a fourth one in, neighboring communities to match priority transportation projects with funding sources. I think that's good, okay. Okay.
Is the
I think
neighboring
that's
communities
less
and-
pie in the sky. The whole part, and somebody already put it about estimated costs and timelines, people that do this for a living can't come up with good estimated costs and timelines. Okay, alright, moving on.
Should we clarify that that doesn't mean include just roads, it's also public transportation?
We said transportation projects, which includes roads and that includes non-motorized transportation, that
Yeah,
includes
is
blue
that
bus,
implied?
blue bus
In
routing.
the
if
header,
applicable.
it's implied,
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
okay.
says transportation projects.
Okay,
but it's also implied in the header, correct?
well, kinda, sort of,
Added opportunities for non-motorized transportation.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Alright, moving on, we got any more zeros? That's it, that was our last zero.
Yep.
I like how that highest rated item was the rental housing ordinance.
People are pissed.
I had a couple readable things, and it could just be my eyes,
I don't know if they're pissed.
cause I'm getting older, but some of the green font, when I looked at it on the computer, I didn't have too much trouble with it, but some of the bigger, pages, like 54 and 45, where you had the green with the
Okay.
black font, or black. 45.
45. Sorry, I saw green font, I stopped.
Yeah, see that big swath we just went by too?
Here, I'll just go
54.
45.
Go to,
Like this?
like that?
Okay.
See, I struggle pulling them words off there. I don't know if it's just me or not.
I got a printed out version too.
Yeah, the smaller little squares, I didn't have as much trouble, but the big ones, like 45, can you go to 54 also?
Yeah.
And then back to 41, I had a comment too. So see how that big green font right there? I don't know if it's just my eyes or,
Are municipalities like beholden to federal accessibility standards?
I don't think so. School districts certainly are.
Yeah, I'm definitely hoping
Universities as well.
I'm definitely counting on the consultants to have the knowledge to be able to say this is, color blindness accessible.
Yeah.
and then, page 51, can they increase the font just a little bit on that, or is it just me?
51.
50.
We'll make a note though, like, is this color blindness accessible, like, questions around that are looming.
51, see the little,
The graphic,
the graph?
yeah,
It is readable, and it's clean.
just can it be bigger?
It-
Can
Because it
graphic
is
be
small
bigger?
statements, can it be just, yeah.
There's some white space there, so I feel like they could probably move some stuff around.
You're gonna fill the same way in 20 years?
Will I?
Well, they could enlarge that some, Miles, there's a lot of green space
That-
above that.
Yeah, there's white
Or
space there to be.
White space,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
no, I agree. Okay, we gotta know. Alright,
It's not like
Any
that
other
by any
comments?
means. I do like the images. I'm really, was really pleased to see all the local images, and a lot of the drone images were pretty clean and pretty nice. And I really enjoyed also the downtown street with the 2 pages right next to each other. I really enjoyed that too.
cool.
The more pictures, the easier it is for me to read.
Yeah, cause
Especially local, it's-
how we'll try to work with them on the back end of this is the document, I know this was the intention, I think, last time you guys did a plan, but when it hit our website, it wasn't, I don't know if it was a website loading issue, but it is supposed to like flip, like a book as you go through it, so.
Yeah.
It did that for me, and it was very nice.
I just needed to do that on the website, that's my problem. Got coded the right way, alright, okay, guys, that's kinda what we got for tonight, this is a big document, there was a shitload of stuff in the appendix, oh, I should probably talk like that. Forgot where I was for a second. There is a ton of stuff in the appendix, just a wealth of data, some of it is actually pretty interesting, I breezed through a lot of it today. The growth projections for employment in Bath, I think it was like 26% to 2050, and for the county, it was a growth projection of like 13%, so obviously Bath with our proximity to Lansing, it checks out, but take a look at that stuff. We're gonna be giving it a deep dive over the next couple of days, looking for statistical errors, and I'm sure the stuff that's out there, I know many of you are good with stats, so let me know. So that's all I got, Chair, I think we've got the info that we're looking for, I'm glad to make some cuts, because I do want people to read this, and we're already like, it's long.
So would you like to move on to the data center stuff, Miles, or?
Yeah, I'm good to move on, if you're good to move on.
Okay, so we know that you guys have seen our more filled out version of our draft HIIU ordinance. The working doc that is included in the packet is just basically bringing up certain things that we wanted to ask you about today. So, just getting right into it, the first one talks about definitions, so how we're actually going to define a high intensity infrastructure use in, the definitions section. So what we had originally when it came to you the first time, it kind of just laid out general provisions. So like an HIIU, that type of land use would be considered HIIU if it meets like a certain electrical demand or a certain water usage a day, or the building footprint is X square feet. So we're kind of just asking what you guys think those defining dimensions or the defining dimensions, which would inherently like restrict the type of development that you would allow, right? Because if it's a medium-sized data center, obviously it's not going to have as much energy demand
we don't need any like hard answers. I guess what we're looking from tonight though too is like, for some of these, it's getting pretty consistent of what we're seeing in like, other communities that are regulating this stuff. And then for some of them, like, they're all over the place. I guess one thing that we'd be looking for though is like building footprint size. Do we have I think that's something that even the layperson, do we have an idea on building footprint size that like, where is your minimum? Like, where's the absolute core of this body? That helps us, information like that helps us write.
So you have later on in the document, I think something about, portion of land that's utilized by the footprint. I don't have an answer for, what's a regulated, like, footprint size. I mean, it seems to me it's relative to the size of the
Sorry.
parcel.
Should we maybe wait on this until after our training later this month? Just thinking that some of this will probably come up and we'll get some answers to these questions. Like I went to a session at the MTA conference on data centers in April, and in my notes it says like medium, under the special land use ordinance, they had them classified as medium, which was 5 to 100 megawatts, or large scale, which is greater than 100 megawatts. And then, the Oracle one in Saline is like in gigawatts, 2.2 million square feet. So I almost wonder if we should wait till after we've had that training
I went past one over in
I'm fine with that.
Wisconsin last week.
on some of these specific statistics.
Because then you would kind of have a better idea about what is a small and
Yeah.
medium.
And deep,
That's how you
couldn't
decide
even
which
see
one.
how far I went in.
I guess I'm still glad to have
Oh,
the
yeah,
conversation
sure.
at least tonight though, because I need
Scared.
to write this ordinance, and we would like to get an ordinance in play, like, we need these juices flowing, and we need you guys thinking about this stuff, so going into that meeting with these questions is probably still good.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, well, yeah,
Yeah,
Cause these are our hangups, like, this is where we've like stopped writing on these points.
So
okay.
I think for this particular section, I think the intent here is to not get locked into writing an ordinance for data centers specifically. And so when we talked about this in the past, it's some combination of, perhaps it's low electrical demand, but it's high water usage.
Yeah, actually in the ordinance, it says, like, this land use would be considered a HIU if it meets like two of the four of these things, so that's how it is verbalized, but, yeah.
And we saw that in our municipalities, and that's also similar language that we used when we did the home-based business, where we like basically set 9 standards. We were like, yeah, same thing, like if you meet 7 of these, you're getting beyond the threshold of what we consider.
So, I mean, just as as an example, I mean, would we have any of the information on the proposed nuts and bolts factory that was?
We do.
I mean, that would give us sort of a starting place to think about what something larger would look like. I mean, clearly as a community, we were okay with that, so we
Yeah.
would scale that up.
Yeah,
And
so
I
that,
don't know what would be on a scale that would be too large.
that was about a 70-acre site, and the impermeable surface of that site, or I'm sorry, 70-acre, that was the parent parcel overall was 40. They subdivided, I wanna say 10 acres off of that. They're functionally though, it would almost be like a 15-acre site, because they were gonna have drainage agreements to a shared place where the water would go, so you could always argue that, but, so let's just round up to 15-acre functional site. Out of that, about 7 acres was impermeable surface, so either the building itself or parking lot. But also, I think the thing that really helped the public buy onto that land use in particular was the jobs attached to the long-term jobs. And that's where data centers are a little bit different, cause it's like this large mega structure but there's not necessarily, wait, there's, in the short run, there's
Construction.
all kinds of jobs, and like, that's huge, like, it can't be ignored. And in the long run, there's tax base for sure, but there's not those jobs.
Do we have information about the Mason facility? I mean, I'm just.
We do, and when the Mason ordinance is later in this, because we really liked their ordinance, we thought it was well built out, it was kinda controversial, though, like, I'm sure you guys saw like I did, there was a lot of public pushback on that ordinance.
Yep, there was.
Didn't they
Paul.
rescind it?
They try, I don't know, I can't
The
remember if it
article I
got,
read today said that it was rescinded,
I saw that
and
they,
now somebody's getting recalled.
Yeah,
I saw they went to rescind it, I didn't see if it went through, then maybe that happened more
they
recently.
withdrew it.
They withdrew.
They withdrew, yeah.
I didn't even, yeah, it's just a unique process.
I do have in my notes, just as a sidebar, it says Pennsylvania and Virginia have some new ordinances, and they specifically mention Loudoun
County.
County in Virginia as having a new,
Should we make a
Data
note, how do we
center.
spell that, just so we got it right?
Loudoun. That's where I lived.
Okay. Mark, the subject matter expert.
Again, there's 300 of them located there. The Post is running, Washington Post is running a series of articles about the noise and other things that are happening with them, just due to the volume.
Is it negative?
It has turned negative. It was very positive to begin with, but as they have built them out and they continue to make them bigger, some of them look like a strip mall. So no big deal, you don't know what's in there, or an office building. All those were fine, but now they are
40 acres.
40 acres.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
just went by one, I was over in Wisconsin. It stretched between two on-ramps of the interstate. That was a monster,
Must be set for a couple of miles,
yeah, and deep.
that's a lot.
So to Kate's comment, I mean, I
Okay.
agree with her on terms of like the numbers piece, waiting on that. I've got a couple comments, just two comments on where the language is general and.
Okay, yeah,
And
we're looking
so-
for any feedback.
On
Where you
the
at,
next, this, yeah, I've done page numbers, on the next page, in A, so subject to allowances in the section noise levels from routine operations shall not exceed 65 decibels.
Yeah, did you see, did you see, I have a suggestion about that up here.
The-
I was less than that.
So it wasn't a suggestion about the noise level.
Okay.
I don't have any opinion about that right now. But routine operations, I think we should define as a percent time or amount of time per.
Yeah, they have periodic testing, but what is routine operations, that's totally. Just so you guys know, I guess going into that meeting, I agree, now I'm going into like a dimensional or metric standard, so we're gonna wait on the meeting to hammer those in. We did do, because a lot of this is kinda outside of our wheelhouse, we had the ability to like download some apps and do some decibel testing. So we went to a couple locations real quick and just tested out, like, what does this sound like? 65 decibels, I think, is high.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Now, I will say, you ain't standing in cause we went in some quiet woods, and you ain't getting below 35 decibels. Like, 35 decibels is quiet, like, that is silence, basically. So that was new information for me, so just know that going into the classic, before that, I would've thought, like 0 decibels is quiet. Maybe I'm an idiot for thinking that, I haven't looked at decibels in a while. But over the overpass was like straight up, like it's it's loud, it's like you're aware that you're on an overpass. And we were at like 75, 80 decibels there. So
So-
just giving you some ranges.
I liked Mason's language under point 2 of the noise being objectionable due to intermittent beat frequency and shrillness. And some of the videos I've seen of some, people standing in their yards, it's the type of noise that's a bit.
That matters too,
problematic.
yeah.
What does near mean, where it says 45 near residential, 55 not residential?
Oh,
What does
that was,
near mean?
Miles's recommendation to. you
But
guys
like-
just saying-
At the property line?
Yeah, we'd have to build that out, but yeah, at the property line, like, we'd have to build, but I was saying that I think the standard should be tighter in general. Maybe as this document builds out, like, it seems obvious to me, maybe it's not, that if there's a bunch of people's homes adjacent to this land use, and maybe it's so on that property line where there are homes, like maybe the standard's one thing, and if the highway is on the other property line, well, maybe then it's not residential, it can be a different thing. But property line, yeah, near is not a good word.
The problem with those is, it's all right for a minute, but if it's your property and you're living by it, just like the freeways, it's obnoxious after a while, and it becomes really aggressive towards.
So I have a concrete example from my own personal experience. So I live next to a mining operation.
Okay.
The mining operation was fine in terms of its, routine noises that it made in terms of decibels and stuff like that. The issue came when the trucks came to drop off material. They would pull forward and then slam the back gates against the,
Yeah.
and then, is that routine? Is it not routine? So when I think
Yeah.
about that type of situation here, it's a fraction of a second, that noise, but it's so jarring.
Yeah, it
In and
makes
of
you
itself.
alert.
So I don't know what would be equivalent, like the start of a generator maybe, or, so I do think it would be good to think clearly about, what Mason tried to get at in terms of the type of noises that are most problematic.
Okay. This is a good conversation, I feel like, going into our class too, cause I think it probably depends on scale of the facility too, like if it's let's say 5-acre facility, let's say it has a total of 20 generators, large Cummins generators. If it's only 20 generators and they have to cycle, those generators could probably cycle in a 124-hour period. But if there's 500 generators, well, now by the time the cycling, one cycles and then all the way down the line of 500, by the time that one's done, we're almost restarting over cycling. So it's just
Well-
all the time.
What if this facility was right next to the highway where it's 75 decibels? Does that have to be quieter than the louder noise that's already there?
Well, I think that's the type of stuff that we think about, we talk about when we write in, and that's kind of.
Like if I were thinking about where I would wanna put a facility like this, if I had to, I would say, yeah, put it next to the highway, cause it's already loud there.
And when you
But
were,
does-
when you're doing the site planning for the facility itself, you would locate the generators
Like highway
closest
side,
to the
yeah.
highway.
Now, does that double the noise of the highway now? Now is the highway 145,
I don't,
150?
I
That's how
don't,
decibels
Depends on the
Decibels
residents.
go
Yeah.
that way.
So, but the highway is not always
It's a
75
logarithmic
decibels.
scale, I think,
Yeah.
so it wouldn't
It
double.
actually
but-
filters them right out, all the way.
you, go ahead, sorry, yeah.
No, the issue is, highway noise is intermittent, right? It ebbs and flows, right? Middle of
But
the
you-
night, it's,
But you do have what you said, the tailgate effect, or the gate effect. You have a hole, because I'm dealing with that right now. There's a hole out on the highway, and every time one of them big trucks hit the hole, it's loud, it's
Oh, yeah.
bang.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
especially if they're not empty, yeah.
Sorry, excuse me for interrupting there.
No, I think that's good, those are the factors that I'm glad to talk about and glad to think about, these are the things we're gonna have to write to, so.
What were you saying, Jason, before I interrupted, the flow of the highway?
No, it's just, highway noise is intermittent, right? So I don't know
To an
how that
extent,
factors
yeah.
in. Do you do peak noise and then hold the facility accountable?
Or take
for
an
that for 20
average, yeah, that's a good question. Maybe an average, but the maximum cannot exceed.
It could also, the issue with this land use though goes back to like, if you had to take one of these somewhere, right, like if you had no other choice, where are you putting this thing? And I feel like the highway does become a like if I don't have control, which Saline Township didn't, and others may not. Cause you can have some control, right, but you can't have, like, cause there's this, the general public, and I heard it from some of the, very kind, you know, super involved residents that came to our open house. And I think we were talking to someone, they were like, just, no, like, I need you guys to put it in writing, you just need to say none of this here. You can't do that.
No, you can't.
You can't do that, and that's when Mason's coming up against that too, where the residents are demanding a hard no, and it's gonna go to court and get forced in, and that's what happened with
Yeah.
Celine, so they're trying to regulate, so I think that's the conversation, the way you need to position it too, is like, if you had to take it and you had to put it somewhere, where is that? And what does that look like?
I would put it near the highway, away from residential development, and, not in our sewer.
And now again, you can create standards that disincentivize them, where we no longer become low-hanging fruit to locate one of these.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously we can't say no to any, district in our, but what we can do is put strict conditions,
Yes, of
right? And those
course.
conditions can be met.
Yes.
I mean, a facility can be lower than 50 decibels.
Yes.
With the proper screening and noise reduction and stuff like
And
that.
that, but real quick, that is one question that I have, and that's an open question. And that was some of our internal notes, and we were trying to ask is, can a facility be under 50 decibels?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Cause that's one area where we need to be cautious of too, when we're writing and
gotta
approving
be
things.
achievable.
It's gotta be achievable, if it's ran into an ordinance and it's like completely out of the wheelhouse of reality, we're going to court, you know,
Yeah.
and now the whole project is biased and, you know.
Are you referring to like another different type of business can meet that?
Another business probably could meet that, but can this land use in question meet that, right? Because this land use in question does have to have certain energy demands met for it to be able to operate. That's like telling a quick metaphor, top of mind, like, that's like telling a bakery, well, you can only deliver dough once a month. Well, that's not gonna work for a bakery.
No.
Well, I mean, we talk about highways, right? There are residential neighborhoods adjacent to a highway, and they build those concrete walls.
Yeah.
Which presumably
Perfect.
those, what's that?
Perfect, you're right on the money there.
So,
Bill,
I mean,
Is that buffering?
that's buffering, that's noise dampening, that's all doable, that's achievable.
And between the homes, you can make them build the berm and put trees on top of the berm to, again, try and knock down some of the noise.
Make them build a 1 foot thick concrete wall with sound deafening technology on this, you know, you can, these are things that are doable and achievable.
so outside of noise,
Okay.
we have water usage, right?
Yep.
And there's some lack of clarity as to will this be well-driven, will it be municipal water-driven? Sewer,
Or is
Kate's
it
already
closed
said.
loop? You could have closed loop
Yep.
with
Yeah.
cooling towers.
Right.
I think the lady, cause I've sat through, it's not gonna be the MSU lady that we've listened to in the past. It'll be her colleagues that are gonna be presenting this, it sounds like, but in some of the other classes we took, it sounds like either you can be water intensive or electric intensive, and that's always been the trade-off.
Air conditioner.
In the state of Michigan, the data centers have pushed to be more water intensive because we have water.
Right.
Where a lot of these locating in the southwest and southeast are more energy intensive, and now their grids are coming up against reality, and that's becoming a
Yep.
conversation.
And the one class I took, if they go electric, they would have to meet the state's using clean electric.
Oh,
And so that pushes them into water intensity.
Yeah.
And a third consideration is, going back to, if we put the development along the highway because of noise standards, do we then limit future development there that may be along core corridors that we wanna see more commercial development.
Are you thinking
I
like
don't
here,
think it
like an example,
eliminates
like,
it.
What's that?
are you thinking of an example like across the road here?
Yeah. Or Saginaw Highway.
Where the gravel pit used to be on Drumhill.
Yeah. I mean, would that be an ideal place or
I
a
don't know.
non-ideal place?
It's next to the highway. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know where there's an ideal place, or if there is such a thing.
Yeah.
And the state's been jumping into this mix too and saying, oh, we're gonna change the rules. And they've already tried to do that in Saline, they wanna change the way they tax it.
Yeah.
Now it's under construction and they already agreed to it.
Well, Meta's
Yeah,
asking for a
this-
12-year abate.
At the state level, they are exempt from state sales tax?
What
The
again?
equipment,
Yeah, but why should they be?
well, that's just that was the big number on the class that
Yeah, I
Watched.
saw that too.
that's a huge number
Yeah.
now. Because every 5 years, they've gotta replace everything. And if they
Well, so-
are locked into a tax exemption, is it forever?
Why did they even get a tax exemption?
Jason, you said, just so for our notes, you said 3 bullet points about considerations for water protection. What's the recap of the 3 considerations again?
What? No, it wasn't 3 for water, it was, I mean, we talked about noise.
Okay.
Talked about water, and then we talked about displaced development.
Well, okay, what was the recap on water then? The one recap?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna look at the expert note.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my
If you're drawing it out of a well, does it
cone
affect?
of depression and.
Yeah, and
Well, that's where the closed loop comes in.
the closed
If
loop,
we specify that they focus on recycling and, reuse rather than freshwater supply.
So do we build that as a,
Well, I
Water
guess I
use.
was thinking is,
be in special conditions.
no, I mean, we allow one type of water
no,
cooling technology.
I guess what I was thinking is recommend that they have certain type of renewable energy sources and that, and environmentally conscious and they're all related, so it could be water, solar, whatever.
What does that look like in terms of language? So like, what is that, like 50% of your energy draw has to be from renewable sources? And then like the front part of that too is like, how do you inspect and
I mean,
enforce
reuse
that?
And then you get back to what's doable, right? And
Yeah.
Who decides what's doable?
Yeah, NOx refers
Well-
to renewable resource, right?
Right.
But that's not really where we want them to go, so you wanna focus more on reuse of that water or, regeneration of that water in some way.
Okay, and then I guess one question I might have for our class then is, are you able to restrict water sourcing? Could you say something that says must gain water from a municipal water source,
Well-
not from ground well?
That is actually
Oh, it
in
is, but then
states that they
at
have
least
to
there's a
be,
fixed draw.
Comes from somewhere.
Yeah, but Board of Water and Light water comes from ground wells.
Yeah, but there's a limited space in the pipe that Board of Water can supply at any one given time, where if you open up the ground wells, those fucking 30 wells all at once, sucking it up as fast as possible. And if they wanna make large investments in Board of Water and Light to up that space, like, so be it, but that kinda creates the barriers to entry.
but the state has the rule that it has to come from local municipal water supply.
Okay, I didn't know, I heard that.
That is in there, in the state laws, that's where it has to come from.
Is a well a local municipal water supply?
Not a municipal unless you're dealing with that
That's where that water comes
board
from,
of
yeah.
power. water and light.
Well, so, I mean, the issue with water is, one, we wanna protect resident wells, and two, we wanna mitigate the, who pays for infrastructure improvements if it's municipal water, right? And same thing with electric. So, I think that, those are our two goals that we're trying. Now, there may be other goals in terms of, you know, saving the aquifer and all that kind of
Well,
stuff.
there's the other part of, if it's a closed loop system, they're gonna have to put chemicals into that water. And what happens when they cycle that out? How do they get those
Yeah,
chemicals
I mean, they
out?
could have a treatment system, that's an
On-site
option,
treatment.
and they clean it up and reuse it, you know?
So regeneration
Depends on
and
how-
on-site treatment need to
Yeah.
be in this ordinance.
And the disposal of chemicals, probably.
Yeah. Well, even if you got cooling towers, though, you still have makeup water,
Yeah.
because
No
cooling
matter what,
towers
yeah.
operate on
It's always gonna
evaporation.
need some water, for
Like,
sure.
like a third-party certifier for water
At their
handling,
cost, yeah.
Yeah, like somebody that inspects this.
that we can just say must meet the standards of this organization.
good.
For responsible water use or something like that.
Yeah.
Well,
It's kinda like how you have for dark sky compliance, there's an organization that inspects site plans and organizations for dark sky compliance and can tell you where they score. Okay.
yeah.
We can look into that, I also have an upcoming meeting, I've asked our township engineer, to seek out either within their own firm or an adjacent firm that has done site plan reviews for this land use, and can we sit down and talk with them over some of these like more nuanced engineering details? And that's a point where they could probably provide some feedback.
One of the other areas to look at is ground vibration when they turn those generators on,
Okay. Now I know what to
and
look
how
at.
far out that
Okay.
reaches.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
that's a good point.
I feel like there's a lot more we could say about this, but just to get some things done, can I ask a question about the ownership changes section from Mason's ordinance, if you guys like to leave it in there? If we didn't have anything about that in our first go around?
I loved it.
Yeah, I thought it was well written, because it's going to happen.
Well, I mean, I guess the question would be, if there's a change in ownership, should we, you know, mandate it that the site plan comes back for review? I mean, isn't that our other option?
The owner of the entity is.
That's what, something this community did similar for the marijuana ordinance.
Yeah.
A change in ownership, depending on if it's within like an LLC itself and just a controlling entities change, that wouldn't constitute, but if the LLC goes away and a new LLC is established, that would constitute a change in ownership. We're suspending the SUP.
And then that would yield another application fee,
So it'd be a totally new, big, looking at a brand new project.
an opportunity for us to have a discourse with the new owner.
The only part that I would assume that would be different though, is because like with the marijuana, like let's say Flora, you know, good land use, hope it stays in the township, but hypothetically, let's say it goes out of business, it's like, well, that could become like anything, right? Like, you know, that could open up like, a GameStop could go in there, you know? Be a very nice GameStop, but, if if the ownership changes here, that what happened and the SUP suspended, like it sounds like, and I agree, like I think at that point, like we're dealing with different people and they're operating differently. But like, what happens with the structure and the site plan would be interesting, you would have to have some kind of like carry-through period where you allow them to still operate while it transitions in play and being reviewed, but with some kind of like caveat of like when that time frame would have a hard stop.
Would that be built into a section on like a bond for decommissioning the structure?
It would have to be, cause it'd be like, well, if you hit this hard stop, then like we're gonna execute this, and obviously you'd have to also build in something about like, if you're coming up on the hard stop and you wanna seek an exemption, a 6-month exemption can be granted administratively, a year exemption, you have to go to the board. Okay.
Sounds good.
Electrical lines, wanna bury them. Now says that AC lines are a bit more difficult to bury, so that might be a reasonable ask. But thoughts, I know that the transmission lines are kinda crazy and death as they are, so.
DC lines are your standard, that's like what's on Webster Road. AC lines are the big lines, and those, because of the nature of they have been buried, they can be buried. But you're getting to like some, extreme dollar amounts. I don't know where the cutoff for that is, or what's, I mean, the problem of this land use is a problem of scale, like the scale is immediately, like, we're wild amounts of money.
Can we? I mean, it's all about where those transmission lines are gonna be, right? If they're along the highway, do we care, right?
Well, it depends a lot on the voltage they're carrying. Because the height is somewhat regulated by the voltage that the wire is carrying.
But you're saying like once you get into like city centers and high density residential areas, we don't care at that point, bury it.
Well, I mean,
That's like a you problem, we're not the ones that are picking you to go through this suburbanized neighborhood.
I mean, I don't know if it makes sense to run them down Webster Road, probably not. Considering the footprint of those things are pretty wide.
Yeah,
But, I mean,
they might try to come down Drumheller.
does that limit future development? I mean, those are the considerations.
I guess maybe that's a question for the class too, and just something to think about at this point, like what are you guys seeing, what's common in the industry, how are people regulating the actual utility of power getting to this site? Cause I would imagine the power draw has gotta be insane.
It is.
It is. Yep.
Megawatts, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would say defaults, just let's keep it buried. And then, you know,
Show good rationale of why this can't be achieved, and
Yeah.
the planning commission may consider within their authority for site plan review.
yeah, that's one way, or, you know, the township lawyer will say you can't force this.
Yeah, we'll see, and then, yeah, this is, to go over the timeline real quick, I mean, we are in early stages here. This needs to go through engineering reviews, this is gonna go through legal review.
Well, you're gonna have an issue with the road maintenance agreement too, because I don't yet understand why road commission didn't wanna make them put a bond on Chandler Road when they started doing that infill on the gravel pit there. Cause they were tearing the snot out of Chandler Road, and I thought they should have had to have a bond on it to redo the road when they got all done.
Have they ever taken a bond out for any mining
Yes, they
operation?
did a piece on, Chandler Road between the pit that McKinsey has and Round Lake Road. But when it expired, the road commission didn't make them renew it.
So I have under the road maintenance agreement part that we would do a road study pre and post construction by the applicant, obviously.
Now, they
So-
did make them fix Drumheller, remember that? But they didn't make them do anything in Chandler.
Not that I know.
No.
Yeah, so, I have that, but is there anything else I should add, maybe about bonds, do you want me to keep on from there?
Well, I don't know that Bath Township has any authority over the road commission to require a bond.
Probably not.
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I mean, we
So
can
maybe-
suggest it.
Maybe if you guys could check into that.
Maybe something we should consult with the road commission and get their thoughts, so maybe that's our note.
No, we require bonds for all sorts of things,
But we don't own the roads,
but we pay for their maintenance.
of some of the roads,
Of some of the
yes.
roads, yes.
Yes.
But we might not, we could maybe require a bond in our ordinance, but maybe we wouldn't be the bond holder, maybe it would be the road commission to be the
Yes,
bond
yeah.
holder, since it's their asset they own, but it's
Yes.
still required in our ordinance. I don't know.
You better talk to the
Final
road
approval
commission.
of the, site plan would be
Yeah.
presence of
Yeah.
road bond.
Oh, yeah, yeah, it's for sure, I think you'd
And
still
it's
do that, you say the
bond.
fiduciary is just
Yeah.
this agency. Yeah. Okay.
I think that really wraps it up. After you guys go to the class, I think we'll be able to have a much more like meaningful discussion about this, but for now, I think that's all
And we'll be at that it sounds like I talked to Karen today, we'll be at that class, maybe Madison, you come to class too, if I mean, you're doing the most of the work with me on this.
When is the class?
Next
Are we?
Wednesday. You should have gotten an invite.
Yeah, we do
from
calendar
Miles.
invites. Check your calendar, I'll check,
No, it's fine.
okay,
It's here.
okay. Do we get a time yet?
6.
6.
6, okay, I just wanted to make sure we say it.
It's right after our other meeting next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Oh, on the suit.
Cool, it's gonna be a fun day.
Do you know who is doing the class?
It is University of Michigan, the lady has done a number, yes, she's done a number of them, it's gonna be her colleagues.
So MSU, not University of Michigan.
U of M, you said MSU the first time.
Oh, yeah, University of Michigan, sorry.
Michigan first.
Sorry. For the pilot one, I don't know, at this point, we're kinda in talks with LEAP and MSU extension. Cause you know, that's the other focus of the course, so we'll see where we land on that. Okay, thank you, Chair.
No, you're welcome. So do you wanna talk about the CIP or?
Yeah, so this is the day where, like, if we go off of our timeline, we would kinda introduce the projects. No new projects were submitted, these were projects from last year. I have some updates on some stuff to say, cause I already, like, can feel the energy. I think we're all frustrated, myself included, with the CIP project, or CIP process. I think the good news I have for this body is it seems like at this point, kind of officially, I think I can say that the superintendent and the supervisor are also frustrated with this project. And they want me to communicate an intent and starting right after budget season gets done this year, cause we're in the 7th month of the year, like, we can't redo this project or process in the middle of the budgeting process. That they would like to I can't talk. Reformat, this process and come up with a more holistic process where the planning commission, it sounds like, and don't quote me on this part, I guess, but in my conversation with Karen, it sounds like the planning commission would be scoring and reviewing both discretionary and non-discretionary prior to the budget itself getting put together. So the CIP process would be starting much earlier in the year, it would be starting in like February. And would have to be wrapped up by early summer, that way it could properly inform the budgeting creation process.
In September, right?
Yeah, I mean, Karen starts making her budget like basically like last month, she started making her budget. So, cause it takes her, you know, months to put all that information together. So but that's why she needs the CIP input before that can take place. But that also means like when she gets her budget adopted in November, that gives her like December and January to get us the stuff we would need to even start having the conversations about both discretionary and non-discretionary spending. Cause I mean, she needs to start looking at, she's looking at that point almost like a year and a couple months out.
So we've seen the same set of projects, proposals for the past 4 years, and none of them have been funded.
None of these have been funded, yeah.
Well, have there been,
There have been some that have been funded that you guys have looked at, like,
in the past 4 years?
in my time here, there's two, the only one I can remember off the top of my head though is, I wanna say there's two. The one I remember off my top of my head was was
Playground?
brought by Ben, and it was the security, one, which include
fence?
cameras and locks on all the doors in the facilities. It was seen as a non-discretion, or a discretionary project,
Yeah.
the township didn't have to do it, we didn't have it before, and the board liked it and voted on it. So, that's the one that comes to mind, I think there was one other small one that happened.
We also do the Wishwasher Park,
The port in place?
report in place.
No, it's still one of the proposals here, isn't it?
You know, that's to
This is
stop the
the
water.
drainage.
This is a parking lot issue, I think, or water issue.
Oh, it's, okay. Well, so my issue with the proposals is that they're all out of date. And so the budgets are from 2022 to 2024. I don't think that we can score these because I have to imagine that current prices are dramatically different from what they were when they were first received.
For sure, would you like the department to provide updated pricing though? Is that like what's gonna get a score from you, or is that still null and void with your other?
Is it gonna matter before budget?
No, I don't think it matters much.
Well, the department will get updated scoring if that's like what, you know, or updated pricing, because this isn't the meeting where we score, that would actually be next meeting. This is the meeting where you're
I
introduced to
understand.
projects. I guess I'm not introducing because you know the projects.
We're always,
We voted for these,
yeah,
and there's still legitimate things that we think should be done, but we don't know their price point due to the inflation. But we've agreed multiple years that these should be done.
Well,
Yeah,
some of
some-
them have scored lower than higher, I don't think
Right.
you guys have, I wouldn't say you've agreed multiple years, all these should be implemented. Some of these have scored quite low and some of them scored higher.
It just feels to me like this is a real cart before the horse type process. Like,
Yeah.
we have no control over the budget
no,
in this entity, yet we're scoring these projects as if there's infinite dollars to be spent on them.
right.
And that's not the reality, and I think it creates a lot of frustration, because we've put some time in previously to really talk about these and review them, and then put a lot of time into making the scoring document and apply it. And then nothing ever happens, and so last year it was just keep the same scores. We're not gonna spend time on it. It seems like it would make more sense to me if we knew ahead of time, all right, we can, in this coming year's budget, there's gonna be $150,000 set aside for CIP money. Then, let's go ahead and score these projects with that information in mind.
With that being said though, I think, because that's, the current format though, like, is that you're scoring only the discretionary, so like right now, no money is being allotted to discretionary.
right.
But
Right.
I think how best practices of a CIP and where I think the direction, my gauge on the leadership direction right now is that they don't want you in the future just scoring discretionary, they want you looking at the overall budget. So then that point of what you're saying will become less important, because you'll actually now be looking at the sewer and the roads in addition to the boat launch, and you'll have to rank overall where all that fits.
Yeah, well, we used to do it that way.
Yeah, that's usually best practice on how a CIP is conducted.
And then if you have that range of what is the most important, then you can
Yeah.
allocate the money
Yeah.
towards them projects that
Right.
are important.
But you'll have the budget overall in that case, you won't have like, oh, we used to have 150 of like basically like discretionary money. No, you'll have 4 million in the budget, and then here's everything, where you at?
It's my intuition that there just isn't gonna be money for any of these things again this year. And also, it depends on what happens with the millage vote next month. I mean, if that's a no, then absolutely not.
So,
There's definitely not gonna be money for this
so
stuff.
will there be
So should we spend
money
our money on it, or our time on it?
within the ensuing 6-year period after the scoring?
That's a good point.
Well, I can't
We don't-
predict the
I don't think
future,
anybody knows that.
but
So the reason I say that is when you look at the Michigan Planning and Enabling Act, there's criteria as to what falls within it. And if it can't be funded within the ensuing 6-year period, we should not be scoring it, pure and simple.
Right.
That's why I brought up, the fact that we've seen the same set of projects over the last 4 years. Realistically, and I'm hearing, alignment there, there's nothing to score.
And I don't know. I don't know.
One, some
Could
of
we
these will
decide to
drop
put in a big DNR grant that could do some of this? Perhaps.
But if you had,
Could we do, if this millage passes and that generates, a better source of income for the township, then yeah, there probably is a little bit more to play with. Like the sport court, I think, was $50,000, and that was like 4 or 5 years ago, but still, I think that that's probably something that would be reasonable, but,
The millage is a wild card unknown factor, a
Yeah.
couple of things though, one, to Commissioner Almaridge's point, so it does state in the Plan Enabling Act, 6-year timeline, so some of these were presented, first brought in 22, so that means that their 6-year timeline, in my interpretation of, correct me if I'm wrong here, I absolutely could be. My interpretation is if the application was first submitted in 22, it gets scored over that 6-year period, if it doesn't get picked up ever in that 6-year period, then, which would end up putting it at like the 28. When 29 comes around, so we'd be scoring that in 28, you won't see that project, you'll be like, what happened to the boat launch, we've been scoring that every year. Oh, it's not here cause it was never picked up and it wasn't resubmitted by DPW as a viable project. So that's one thing. A second thing is when you are thinking about, to Commissioner Almaridge's point of like, is this a viable project in the 6-year period, you cannot say, well, you're not supposed to, at least best practice is to not be like, well, there could be a grant out there, you can't do that, you're supposed to base it upon what you think the reality. Now, if you think there's a high likelihood and there's like some non-competitive grant, like there, is sometimes for comprehensive plans, and you think the likelihood is very high, now you can count on it more.
So it also gets complicated because I'm looking at fourth quarter budget amendments of the board where there was a $0 budget, but there was a budget amendment to purchase land. And so there was 4 different land acquisitions, one for 2,500, another for 17,000, another for 85,000, another for 25,000. Land acquisition is squarely within the capital improvement planning process. So when we say we don't have money, we actually do have money, it's just
well,
where the
we did
priorities
have
are.
money. That was, I think, in 2 or 3 years ago budget, right?
Yeah, but we still had the scored capital improvement plan, proposals, that did not get funded, that could have been funded. So the process is broken, right?
Yeah, I think that's what we're all acknowledging. There's gotta be better synergy in this process, and one conversation I had with, the superintendent was, I was like, I don't think you're getting out of this process what you should be getting out of it either, like, not only is the planning commission feeling harmed by this, but like, you're being harmed by this, because then when these decisions are made by them and there wasn't buy-in, these decisions are called into question too, and it harms the board.
Well, we serve at the leisure of the board, right? But as a tax-paying citizen, I would prefer to have, appointed board of commissioners make, advisory, advice to the board for how to allocate funds.
And I think at this point, they agree. So I'm hoping for good progress there. But that still leaves us with tonight, guys, I don't know, we could talk about this for a long time. These are the 4 projects, these were what scored, some of these will drop off in 28, some of them came later and would drop off in 29. I guess if you have any questions, some feedback I heard was, let's get some updated pricing, we can help with that.
I don't think we should spend the time, Miles,
Time?
cause it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, and I think the mechanism is to what, the best of our understanding, that these are not feasibly, going to be, fundable within the ensuing 6-year period. Therefore, there is nothing to score.
Okay, well, I'd be fine with that, Kate, you have something to
Well,
say,
I was
I
just
want
gonna
to
say, assuming inflation, is it fair to say that most of these projects would inflate similarly?
I would think
Thus
so.
keeping them in the same relative score. I don't think that updated estimates is probably gonna impact our scoring of one project to
No,
another.
I'm channeling Ben's,
If the
Joe Ben's
DPW is
here.
gonna do anything, I think they ought to mitigate the water running into the port and place at Wishwasher Park.
so, I mean, just
That's maintenance as far as I'm concerned.
to Kate's question, I would think that anything that involving asphalt, and I think one of them does,
The parking
might
lot,
be
yeah.
quite a bit
Proportionally
difference.
more than the
Yeah,
rest, but
yeah.
otherwise, it seems reasonable to just keep the same scores like we did last year.
With that being said, whatever happens at the scoring meeting, I guess, like, that's fine. And I always say like, oh, I'm fine with that. You guys say what we do, I don't care.
Right.
But I would just like to point out that what you guys did last year, and I think was helpful at the board, and there was even like some dialogue between like Ryan and then looking at Karen, and then Karen looking at me on the podium, and then Ryan look, and it's like this back and forth real quick, was you put in some comments about like, hey, you know, like, we don't find this project process particularly useful, like, we don't think you find it useful, like, we object, and also, by the way, like, you need to shore up the water issue with the parking lot. And that, so then there would create a dialogue, so I would encourage you guys, the scoring is just one element, the report is also your report to the board, you can say whatever you want in the report.
Nothing happened. When you go to Wiswasser Park, you can see the area that's flooding in the Porden Place has well, at this point, they're memorial bricks, right? But there's bricks of presumably donors, of which Ben Zeeb is there, covered in silt.
Yeah.
Not Ben Zeeb, Joe Benzie.
Yep.
And so, nothing happened. And in the 10 years I've been part of the planning commission, every year we say the same thing, it's a broken process, we need to fix it. And then we agree to fix it, and then we wait until the last minute when there's no more time to fix it, and then it's, you know, rush. So, I'm not I mean, with all
All
due
I can say-
respect, I don't trust, you know, some promissory statements from, you know, the supervisor and superintendent as to, oh, we know it's broken, we wanna fix it, it means something important to us.
I guess I just wanted to put that out there, I don't disagree with anything you said, but that was the most promising, like, acknowledgement I've heard from them in my time here, of like, hey, like, we gotta change this. I just think that's something that we need to not take our foot off the gas pedal, me, myself included. It's gotta happen early in the year, this can't be a conversation that happens in the 6th or 7th month of the year, it's gotta be something that happens in January, right at the start of January.
Whether the process is, if you don't mind me, whether the process is bad or not, which we know it is, what it is, the project's still, being scored and recognized that way. If someone does have the inkling to implement something, there is a list already there, and there is the information for them projects there to do something about it. There won't be any excuse to not do something about it. If you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know them as the projects, and they know the priorities of the projects. And even if they can't do the number one priority, they would have the funding for maybe the second priority. But at least all the information would be there for them, and our prioritized list would be there. But I agree with Jason also.
Okay. I guess I'll
Being it's,
share out, from the staff side, I don't have anything else to add.
Okay. All right.
You know, the planning commission can be exempted from the capital improvement planning process by board action. It can be delegated to the supervisor, it can be delegated to the superintendent.
I think, I would hope, and maybe this is just like the planning background and all this, but I would hope that the goal would always be more involvement, more input, not less. I'd always advocate for that. But you're right, like, yeah, the board has a lot of leeway here.
I mean, I agree with you in spirit, but, you know, going back, Kate mentioned, well, why are it's cart before the horse? You know, we don't know what the budget is. Perhaps the agent who is working on the budget is in a better position to create a capital improvement plan.
Well,
Again,
Yeah.
I'm not arguing for that in principle, because I think that takes away what our purpose is, right? For, you know, and it weakens, you know, public input into how the board allocates public dollars. However, the net effect of limiting what we review and seeing the same, 5 proposals for the last 4 years,
Right.
we don't perform a service. And that service is the lack of service is patently clear by the board, ignoring the scores that we've provided, going about purchasing land and other capital improvement, plans without any input from us.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's agreeing with what you're saying.
They'll be watching
Soapbox.
this tomorrow.
Well, that's up to the township board, because Karen works for the township board.
I'm just saying, I mean, the board can just say, no,
Right.
I'm tired of the planning commission griping all the time.
They could also say, though, and I hope this is where we're going, no, we need better buy-in, we gotta reform this process.
Yeah.
That's doable, and the reform might even create like a gap here in the reviewing of the process, cause you're working out the process, but that seems like you're moving in the right direction. So, okay.
I do think you have to have that information before the budget though, so when you're doing the budget, you can allocate X funds, X,
Yeah, and best practice, like, that's how this usually works, is like, the superintendent, the city manager's office, whatever it is, ends up putting together kind of like a rough draft of a budget, like a concept of a budget. Then the CIP process goes through, and then that all happens before the actual budget is put together. But the concept of the budget, which includes sewer, not replacement of police cruisers, but maybe like we need a new police cruiser this year.
Roads.
Includes all that, roads, all that, and it includes boat launches, and then that process is reviewed, recommended, and that takes different forms. Some people score it, some people write it in a report and say these things, these targeted areas, safety's a target area, anything that's in safety, that's a good area we like. But I think coming up with a process and a timeline of what that looks like, that needs to happen in, again, December, January. Or, because if you don't do it during those like slow winter periods,
Yeah.
then you're not set up for success in February, which is when you gotta kick off.
Yeah.
$20 won't happen.
Okay. I don't know, I'm just trying to, I like to be an advocate for it.
Anyone wanna take me on $20?
I
July?
don't wanna take you on it, though, I know, I feel bad.
I will, I can maybe try and, I might have a conflict of interest.
So, but, I mean, reading the Planning and Enabling Act is pretty interesting. I mean, if it does fall within squarely on us, I mean, consequently, each agency or department of the local unit of government with authority for public structures or improvements shall, upon request, furnish the planning commission with lists, plans, and estimates of time and cost of those public structures and improvements. We could just make the request.
Yep.
We don't, it's part of our process in a public presentation.
That's correct. Yep.
Yeah, I think it would be good if this process would hammer out, like, I'm not, just you were reading straight from the Planning and Enabling Act, like, what do you want me to do? Like, no, that's not, that's, yeah, like, I agree. Alright. I think Chair, what do you wanna do here? Are we good?
Is there a motion to
Let's
adjourn?
see,
Well, no, we still got a couple more items.
Now, what's your pleasure here, Miles? Do you want a motion from the planning?
We don't need anything, we're just introducing the projects tonight.
You wanna just introduce it? We'll
Yeah.
talk about it again later?
That is what the timeline calls for.
Okay. That's fine. I don't have any problem with that.
Does it
Okay.
require a public hearing?
No, I don't
Does it
think
not?
so, does it? No, I don't remember that it did. No,
I don't think
so.
there's a public hearing. No, I can look.
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think it does. Well, you read the planning enabling act, what's it say?
I can read the whole thing.
The time,
65, 63.
that's why I have to.
Cherry picked what you wanted, huh?
That is why I have to stick to the timeline, though, that was approved, cause that was noticed to the public, including in the paper. So that's why I can't be like, oh, let's go ahead and wrap this up tonight, no, cause it's already, the public needs to be aware, and they might come to the meeting next time, I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
hoping.
who knows? All right. let's-
Okay,
let's move on. Do you have any report for us, Miles?
Um,
Or you already,
No, I don't have a ton of news. There's
You
not
don't have
really
anything
too
else?
much going on in the department.
okay, there's no public hearing, so let's, Kate, you're up next then.
I just wanted to share that at the last Board of Trustees meeting, we had a presentation about adding a communications intern. I think that is one point that has been received by the staff fairly clearly, is that the township does need to do a better job at communications and PR, those types of things. So we discussed at the last meeting, the process to start the application process to get an intern to help with those things. So that is happening. And then I was also gonna mention the training next week, but I think we hit that.
Okay,
Training for,
Data centers
thank you.
and pilot,
and pilot.
no,
Would you
both.
say the intern would be for,
Communications
like for the board or?
for the, as a staff member, township staff.
Maybe it's embarrassing.
So you're talking communication to the public, correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, social media, other types of communications, website. I think that those are things that everybody's aware needs to be done, but there currently isn't enough manpower to get it done. So the first proposed solution here is to look at hiring an intern who would specialize in those, which having Michigan State University right down the road, I think is a great resource. Last month I went to a forum hosted by LEAP about asking elected officials, kind of getting feedback from elected officials on a variety of topics. And one of the things I happened to mention was that's an area that is a weakness for the township, is our communication to the public. Not that we're hiding anything, but we're just not very good at sharing all of the things. It is hard. And the mayor of St. John's was there, and he said they actually have started using high school interns in their communication
interesting.
stuff. So they've partnered with St. John's High School to help fill some of those needs as well. So I mentioned that at the meeting too. So perhaps that might be an option. I don't know if Bath High School offers it, but the school where I work, we have, they call it like work study or co-op, where the last couple hours of the day, students go to their place of employment and they receive high school credit. There's some oversight from the high school and whatnot. But I don't know if Bath or the other school districts that are within Bath Township offer something like that. But might be worth looking into. So we're starting that process. So I wanted to share that since it does come up fairly often. And then I was just gonna mention the training next week, but we already mentioned it.
okay, thank you,
That's all I have.
thank you. Planning Commissioner comments.
I always appreciate that work behind the scenes.
Yeah.
A lot of work makes it look easy here. A lot of work behind the scenes, I'm sure, make it look that way. That's greatly appreciated.
Oh, the board did pass the fee change
Cool.
at the
Oh,
last
good.
meeting too.
Good,
Forgot about that too.
good.
Already
Okay.
being implemented.
Nope,
Oh, good.
Mark, you got anything? No. Jason?
Outside of nitpicking the comprehensive plan, I think it's looking pretty damn good.
Yeah, thanks.
I will say that Mr. Kessler was at the board meeting, and he and I talked during your
Closed session?
closed session, yes. He brought up Gary Lane briefly, and I told him that it was not on the planning commission's plate. It had been submitted to the board of trustees. The board of trustees did not send it back to the planning commission, so therefore it's not really in our domain anymore. And he could have several options at that point. They could either choose to send it back to the board, planning commission. They could add or delete certain criteria that they wanted to do to that plan. Or take whatever action they wanted to take on it, because it was no longer in our domain. And we also talked about, Webster Road over here, Drumhiller, because he said he had a very interesting offer from an out-of-state firm that wanted to build several hundred apartments there. But he was not really enthused about it, because the township hasn't done anything firm about what we want to do with the sewer routing. So, that's not in our domain either. We don't have any control over easements for sewer normally. So I told him that as well. But that was the discussion I had with Mr. Kessler. I don't wanna do that in private and not have you aware of it, so felt that was important. And I shared some of that with Miles, so he knows what our position, I think that's our
Yeah, a
position.
lot of my input on that was just related to, well, it depends on what he's submitting and depends on the development, and obviously the route of the sewer would depend on Norm Fastener. It had a particular shape because of the shape of the facility and
Yep.
where the wetlands are, and if a different land use came in with different, it would
Yep.
have a different shape. So it's a
Yep.
big, it depends across the board.
Yeah,
But, you know, send us a preliminary one-sheet plan and we can give some feedback on whether it requires amendments at the planning commission, or if it's minor, or if it's infrastructure based and needs to go to the township engineer, or if, the land use is even applicable in that zoning district. I haven't seen any plans, I have nothing to look at. One thing I always hesitate to do, people call us daily and they're like, well, what about this, what about that, it's a lot of what ifs, I'm like, I like to be talking about specifics, you
Yeah.
know, cause it's a big it depends situation.
Specifically, I wished we could build out the township entities across the street.
Yeah.
Miles, is it true
Well, we
that's
I don't think
planning commission
anybody's
is
ever approached that.
purely
It's-
advisory,
It's
it's not
unfortunate,
board
when we had
for
Pecora
site
Park,
plan?
we
No.
could put all our facilities
That's not
down
true.
there.
Yeah,
It
if
cost us
someone
hardly
came, we would,
anything.
as a zoning administrator,
Didn't
and
do
it
anything.
required
Now we
a
have this right here.
major site plan
Could
amendment, I
implement
would
it right here,
strongly
right across the street
advise that
from
it
where we're
came
at.
before the planning
Community
commission.
centers, ball
Right.
dam,
Yeah, always.
anything.
Well, that's articulated
Don't
as
do nothing.
statute.
Yes, always, and that's why I would strongly
Start
advise it.
making. know
I
it
think where
costs
we
money, but
get mixed up is what
they put
we
schools
consider
up
as minor
without
versus
money.
major amendments.
Yeah, and I think they'll
This building
also
got put
like,
up.
where we got mixed up in the past, I don't wanna go down the whole thing,
Sewers
is
get put in.
when does a necessary required engineering change to a site run afoul of a major amendment of a land use? But you know, if you approved a PUD with 40 lots and we're amending that down to a PUD of 20 lots, you gotta come back to the planning committee, that would be my recommendation.
John, we were just talking about, there are certain things that were not purely advisory. So we do have a quasi judicial responsibility.
That's reasonable,
So
yeah.
site plans are one of those.
Well, I'm sure that, and I didn't suggest this to Mr. Kessler, but I'm sure he could come back with a totally revised site plan. And he could present it to the planning commission if that was his choice. Because it would be a new project, basically,
Well, yeah, we talked offline about
yeah.
new project versus revised project, I mean, I don't know
Right.
what fees are.
But
That's
you-
why we're doing a bunch of what ifs, I won't even wanna go there, like, let's see
But I don't wanna
let's see a
go down that
plan.
road at this point, because it's not in our court at all, Jason, at this point. It would have to be either sent back to us by the board of trustees, or he could submit a whole new project and start the process all over again with the planning commission. That's the only two choices I see.
Okay.
So back to the board of trustees.
Well, we're going in the realm of what ifs, I hate
Yep.
what ifs,
Yeah,
terrible.
So I don't wanna go down that rabbit hole.
May I make a motion to adjourn?
Absolutely.
May I second it?
You certainly may. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed?